Bill is away today. So, and we have Ann. Hi, Ann.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, okay. So. Okay, Alicia's taking care of all that. Fantastic. Okay, great.
Duncan, I don't have any volume.
We ready to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the May 24th meeting of the Harwich Planning Board. It's being held in person, and it's also available live on Channel 18. Members of the public with any interest obviously should be here in person. And it looks like we have several interested parties. I'd like to call the meeting to order and say that according to Mass General Law, anyone who intends to record anybody here who intends to record the meeting? Seeing none. So would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Mr. Chadwick, I think you have an idea for a statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if everyone has heard yet. I just heard it on the news as I was leaving the house that there was another shooting at a school in Texas, and preliminary reports are 14 or 15 elementary age school children were killed, along with a teacher and the shooter. So I would just like to ask us to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are missing one individual this evening who is on her way. She should be here. She was going to be late. So we're going to start this meeting actually on the public meeting section and return to the public hearing if you don't mind. That way we can reduce the amount of wait time that we have between items of business this evening. The public meeting is Article 4, Item 4 on tonight's agenda, Release of Covenant for PB 2020-15-12 Arthur's Way. It's a lot swap covenant, lot number 7 for release of lot number 8. So do we have anybody who's addressing this to us this evening?
Is this Fiddle Way?
No, this is Arthur's Way.
Okay,
Was there any, I guess we don't have anybody making a presentation to us on this then. You do?
I don't, but Mr. Chairman, if I could for the
Yes,
record.
please, Mr. Powers.
Joe Powers, Town Administrator, and as the charter indicates, whenever there's a vacancy in the department head position, I have to serve in the interim. I'll change that to say that I get to serve in the interim. And you know, with the departure of John Eidman to Brewster, I'm here this evening as staff representative. So what you should have in your packet, you can see the staff report that was provided and presented by the planning assistant relative to this matter.
Correct.
And you will see that her recommended motion and determination is that there be a motion to grant release of Lot 8 from the agreement and covenant and to recovenant Lot 7 as shown on the lotting plan for the preserve and as endorsed by the planning board on June 14th, 2016. And so that would be staff recommendation.
Are there any comment or questions from the board?
Would you like a motion?
I'd love a motion if we've got one.
I make a motion that we grant release of Lot 8 from the agreement and covenant and to recovenant Lot 7 as shown on the lotting plan for the preserve and endorsed by the planning board on June 14th, 2016.
David Harris, second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Ann Tucker,
Aye.
Emily Brunetti,
Aye.
Duncan Berry, aye. Craig Chadwick,
Craig Chadwick, aye.
Dave Harris.
David Harris, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Second item is for the approval of minutes for April 26, 2022. They've all been distributed in our packets. Do we have any questions or amendments or changes, Mr. Harris?
I'm not listed in either of attending or not attending.
Ah. So
Is
how do
there a
we?
message there, Mr. Chairman?
No personal slight intended, Mr. Harris. I do suggest that we remedy that by saying, I believe you were on that meeting remotely, correct?
I was not on the,
Oh, you
You
were?
were not remote. The complaint is that you're not listed as being there and not listed as not being there. So you want us to list you as not being there, not being present. Is that the, okay.
absent, yes.
Can I entertain a motion to accept the minutes as revised?
I'll make a motion that we accept the Harwich Planning Board meeting minutes of Tuesday, 26, 2022, with the change identified by Mr. Harris.
Have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call vote. Ms. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Renetti?
Aye.
Mr. Barry, aye. Mr. Chadwick?
Craig Chadwick, aye.
Mr. Harris?
I abstain.
Abstain. Thank you. So it passes. We now have briefing correspondence. I think that's self-explanatory. I'd like to wait to see what Ms. Maslowski reports to us on Historic District Commission when she arrives. And so that will give us probably about 10 minutes of a recess right now. So please feel free to use the time as you see fit. We will get right on to the public hearing meeting as soon as we have a full complement here. So I appreciate your patience. And recess for the maybe 10, 12 minutes. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had our 10-minute break. We're all here. And I'd like to now open public hearing for case number PB 2020-12, Eastward MBT LLC, trustee, owner, seeks approval of a definitive subdivision plan. Said subdivision is an open space residential development that includes 5 building lots, 2 open space lots, and a new road in Turtle Run. Said application is pursuant to the code of the town of Harwich, sections 325-51E, Chapter 325, Table 1, Chapter 400, Article 2, and Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Sections 88K through GG. Property is located at 0, Route 39, Map 63, Parcel C3 in the R-R and W-R zoning districts. Sir.
Good evening. I'm William Riley. I represent Eastward MBT LLC, and with me is David Clark of Clark Engineering, who will be carrying the main load tonight. Bill Marsh is principal of Eastward, is with us in the audience. David, you want to? Sure.
So the proposal to subdivide the parcel located on Route 39, just past Thompson's Field, heading east. The subdivision is for 3 open space lots. We were before you earlier this year with a preliminary plan, and we preferred the open space subdivision, and I believe by going the open space route allows us to get all the site improvements outside of the 100-foot buffer to the isolated wetland there. So the road that's proposed is a little over 900 feet long, and that'll service the 5 building lots at the back of the property. Each of the lots are around 20,000 feet. They're between 17 and 20,000 square feet. With aggregation plan that was approved by the Board of Health last week, we're allowed to use the open space lots, so each lot will be able to have 5-bedroom homes on them. Because it's a 5-lot subdivision, it is considered a minor way under your rules and regulations, so it's the minimum size road that's allowed under the Harwich Planning Board rules and regulations. So we're gonna have 22 feet of pavement or 20 feet of pavement. It's all on the construction drawings. The stormwater's been broken out into 3 sections along the roadway, and we are working with the selectmen to get the selectmen stormwater permit. We had a meeting last night. Their consultant came up with a list of things that we're working on, and we should be ready to be back for them on June 13th. Like I said, because we have the road more than 100 feet from the wetland, no conservation review is going to be required for this subdivision. That's about it. All the lots, well, in our opinion, the subdivision conforms with the Harwich zoning bylaw as well as your rules and regulations for the subdivision of land.
And I think it's also important to point out that almost 5 acres of land will be open space as a result of the design of this septic system, of this subdivision. And one of the real important aspects is the protection of the hidden pond and the wetland that surrounds it. So we think those are all benefits for the town as well. Well, if you have any more questions,
Well, why don't we hear from Mr. Powers? Rather lengthy report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, for the record, I would want to indicate that we are joined by Steve Rhodes from VHP Engineering. You'll see in the packet that Mr. Rhodes was affiliated with the review by VHP in the report that says engineering review for conformance with the town's sub regulations, so he's available for input. You'll also see, as Mr. Clark was making reference to, the review that VHB had done for the town, presented last night to the Board of Selectmen, acting in their capacity as the regulatory authority on stormwater. As Mr. Clark has indicated, the board's expected. They continued their hearing last night until June 13th, pending Mr. Clark's follow-up with Ms. Surrey at VHB on some outstanding items. So the board did not take any action last night. And then, of course, you have the staff report, which was constructed by our former Director of Planning and Community Development, John Eidman. In fact, probably one of the last acts that he did that's in the packet. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I will go to roads and to the materials in the packet, and will endeavor to answer any questions that I can. And then, last but not least, I'm not sure if the announcement was made, we do have the sign-in sheet, so anyone that has joined is asked to sign in for the record.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodes?
Good evening. I read over the staff report this afternoon that Mr. Eidman prepared, and I agree with all of the suggestions, conditions for approval written in that. Our report, really the only substantial piece of our report is on the zoning compliance table. I saw Mr. Eidman had a comment on that from a step back component, and our comment was on the frontage component, just to clarify the proposed frontage. So other than that, everything looks good to us.
Do we have any questions from the board?
So could we go through the staff report first?
Sure. How would you like to go through it?
So,
Because it's
I know it's
rather
like,
granular.
but it's also a kind of helpful.
I totally agree. How would you like to proceed?
So in the past, we've had people read it into the record,
Okay,
but
I'd be happy to do that unless somebody would prefer to do it, or?
And if you want to take the opportunity to make staff do it, I'd be more,
please.
I will
Please.
not forget.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is staff report dated April 29, 2022, for definitive subdivision plan residential. Case number PB 2022-12. Applicant and owner is Eastward MBT LLC, trustee. Eastward Homes Business Trust, doing business as Eastward, herein referred to as Eastward. Registry Deed Book 34692, page 11. Plan Book 60459. Property known as Turtle Run off of Orleans Road, Route 39, 63, parcel C3. There are findings and other recommendations I'll go through in a moment. For the record, indicate that the findings and other recommendations, 24 items, and then followed by recommended conditions of approval, which will also be read, and those consist of 16 items. Finding and the subject property, map 63, parcel C3, is approximately 8.64 acres, 7.08 acres plus or minus upland, located off the south side of Route 39, Orleans Road, near Little Lane and Hidden Pond Circle. Finding number 2, applicant Eastwood Companies has submitted a definitive plan for approval to subdivide the property pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 81, Section 40, Code, Chapter 402. The subdivision is 5 single-family residential building lots. There are also 2 proposed open space lots, parcels A and B. Lot access would be from a new subdivision road named Turtle Run. Item 3, the applicant previously submitted a corresponding preliminary subdivision plan accepted by the town clerk November 3rd, 2021, case number PB 2021-24, and the board rendered a written decision on the same dated December 3rd, 2021. Item number 4, because the preliminary filed for the land within 6 months prior to the filing, the board has 90 days to hear and issue a written decision on the definitive plan from filing, parenthetically April 19, 2022, unless this time is extended by mutual agreement between the board and the applicant. Number 5, the property is located in the Rural Residential, or RR, zoning district, and the Drinking Water Resource Protection, or DWRPD or WRD, zoning overlay district. The proposed plan is a cluster/open space residential development, OSR, which is permitted by right and the DWRPD, subject to the requirements set out in section 325-51E of the Harwich zoning bylaw. No special permit is required per the bylaw's table of uses for table 1. Item number 7, the applicant prepared and submitted a conventional grid subdivision as a basis for establishing the number of building lots and the OSRD during the preliminary plan proceedings. In its decision on the preliminary plan, the planning board determined that the OSRD was designed consistent with the relevant provisions from the Harwich zoning bylaw, division rules and regulations, and was preferable and superior in design to a conventional grid subdivision plan with regard to protection of natural features and scenic resources on the site. Item number 8, the definitive plan application was accepted by the town on April 19, 2022, revised on April 28, 2022. Plans and 9, plans and documents submitted in support of OSRD definitive plan approval are as follows. Bullet point, Turtle Run subdivision off Route 39, Harwich, Mass. Stormwater report, including drainage calculations prepared for Eastward Home Business Trust by Clark Engineering, LLC, dated April 2nd, 2022. Second bullet point, plan set subdivision East Harwich, prepared for Eastward Homes Business Trust by Clark Engineering, LLC, Outermost Land Survey Incorporated, dated April 8, 2022, inclusive of the following sheets: a cover sheet, a division plan marked as 1, topography plan marked as sheet 2, the road plan view marked as sheet 3, the plan and profile of the road marked as sheet 4, drainage and paving details marked as sheet 5, water main details marked as sheet 6, erosion control plan marked as sheet 7, erosion details marked as sheet 8, and the erosion control detention area plan marked as sheet 9. Item number 10, for purpose of the planning board subdivision review and decision-making, and as referred to herein, the above referenced division plan, sheet 1, is considered the definitive plan. Item 11, there are freshwater inland wetlands, including pond area, and corresponding buffer zones on the property proposed development. Item number 12, the property is not located in the Pleasant Bay watershed. Item number 13, the property is not mapped in the special flood hazard zone. Item number 14, in February 2002, the Conservation Commission positive determination confirming the accuracy of the wetlands delineation as depicted on the definitive plan. Wetlands areas and their buffer zones are contained entirely in the proposed open space Parcel A. None of the proposed building lots or the other subdivision infrastructure is located within wetlands or buffer zones thereto. Item number 15, the property is mapped in its entirety as property habitat for rare and endangered under MESA. The applicant filed with the Commonwealth's Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program and obtained a, quote, no-take, close quote, letter dated January 2, requiring the applicant to implement a construction period turtle protection plan. Item number 16, proposed open space, contains all of the wetlands, pond area, and wetland buffer zones located on the property, as well as a portion of the existing so-called middle road. The portion of middle road on Locust is a variable width to 10-foot traveled way, unimproved, and approximately 1,100 square feet in area. It provides access to at least one property abutting Locust. The portion of hidden pond on Locust is approximately 9,721 square feet. Open space parcel A has a total land area of 4.96 plus or minus acres. 4.71 plus or minus acres are not including hidden pond or middle road. Open space parcel B includes some proposed drainage easement areas and is approximately 0.52 acres in size. Even exclusive of the hidden pond and middle road areas on site, more than 60% of the land area of the property is proposed to be set aside as a permanent space, parenthetically noted, comprised of the two open space parcels A and B, close parentheses. Turtle Run has been aligned with Middle Road so as not to interfere with any existing rights-of-way and laid out with a common access point to and from Orleans Road. Item 17, the proposed OSRD, including roadway, drainage facilities, open space parcels, and building lots, are consistent with the applicable dimensional and design provisions of the Harwich zoning bylaw, known as the Harwich Code, Chapter 325, Section 51E, and tables and attachments 1, 2, and 3. Of particular emphasis, A, the zoning compliance table on the definitive plan accurately represents the allowable dimensional requirements for an OSRD, as well as other relevant dimensional requirements. And subpoint B, the proposed open space is connected on-site, adjacent, and connected to abutting open space land, allows for access and views from the building lots and open space, provides vegetated buffers along wetlands, and contains the site's most sensitive resource areas, wetlands, and their buffer zones. Item 18, subject to the recommended conditions of approval set out herein and confirmation by the town engineer, the subdivision is consistent with the applicable requirements of the town's subdivision's rules and regulations, parenthetically, Harwich Code, Chapter 400, 2, Board of Health recommendations for the subdivision, and Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Sections 81K through 81GG. In particular, the subdivision meets administrative filing and plan preparation requirements of Harwich Code Section 400-10 and Appendix 4 there, meets the procedure requirements of Harwich Code Section 400-11, Section C, subsection, meets street design standards of Harwich Code Section 400-12, subsections A through D, and Appendix 3, Figures 1 3, and Appendix 2, Table 1 thereto, including but not limited to right-of-way width, improved road, dead-end road length, and cul-de-sac standards. Meets drainage standards of Harwich Code Section 400-13A, and Appendices 1 and 2, Tables 1 through 4 thereto. No sidewalks are necessary because the proposed new road, Turtle Run, is defined and treated as a way under Harwich Code Chapter 400, Article 1, and its appendices, definition, designed and intended to serve 5 or fewer lots. The definitive plan shows that Turtle Run is a center island in the cul-de-sac, which may be planted at the applicant's option. Of particular note, road length is approximately 830 linear feet, thank you, less than the maximum 1,200 linear feet allowed. And there is the required center line offset from surrounding roadways. As depicted or set out in Appendix 2, Table 1, and Appendix 3, Table 4 of the Town Code, Chapter 400, Article 2, the subdivision will require a cleared line of sight from vegetation and other obstructions at the proposed new intersection of Turtle Run and Route 39. Item number 19, the OSRD will require a stormwater permit under the town's local stormwater and illicit discharge regulations. Item 20, the subdivision will require Board of Health review. There are Board of Health restrictions noted on the face of the definitive plan. The plan is subject to further Board of Health comments and recommended restrictions. Without limitation, the Board of Health will require a nitrogen loading report and nitrogen aggregation plan or plans. For the definitive plan, the so-called 440 flow rule applies as the property is located in Zone 2 wellhead protection area. Item number 21, a permit or approval from Town Department of Public Works will be needed to allow new road access for Turtle Run to Orleans Road and improve public way. Item 22, per the definitive plan, the water line installation will require trenching across Orleans Road, and the subdivision will require connection to municipal water system in that area. The applicant will review and permit this work with the town water and Department of Public Works and provide details to these departments for the same prior to commencing this work. The applicant will establish an association for the subdivision and a corresponding declaration of protective covenants. The declaration of protective covenants will incorporate maintenance obligations for for the subdivision facilities such as the roadways and drainage infrastructure, including the terms of the stormwater operations and maintenance plan. Item number 24, the board opened and held a public hearing on the definitive plan approval May 24, 2022. Must I continue, or could I breathe?
You can breathe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Ms. Maslowski?
So I just had a couple of questions. Do we know if the other departments had reviewed it? I know the Board of Health has, it's going there, but did fire and police, we typically get a report that says fire had reviewed the location or not, and I just didn't see that in the report.
But it's not up to us to ask for that.
No, I know it's not. I just don't know whether it had.
Yeah, having reviewed the
It wasn't in
packet earlier today, I don't have those corresponding reports,
Okay,
so I'm not able to
okay.
respond in the affirmative.
And then if I could just ask one question. Make sure I'm reading the open space parcel correctly. It stretches, on the north side, parcel A stretches all the way from Route 39 around lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 to what I'll say is the southern side of the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
And then B is just along the what I'd say is the southern run.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, just one comment about my understanding is that as a result of subsequent conversations with John Eidman, that he recommended that giving the open space to a homeowners association, that it be given to the Conservation Commission. And so we're fully on board with that, and we'll work to complete that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I need some assistance in understanding how the new Turtle Run intersects with Orleans Road and Middle Road. I was out there the other day, and I was looking for some stakes, because I think one of the documents said that stakes, board, has it been staked yet, do you know?
The center line's been staked for 4 months,
And is
5 months.
the location to get into it as it exists today, to get into Little Road and Middle Road, or Middle Road, is kind of like a Y, and I think there are some mailboxes in between that Y. I may be incorrect, but if you leave Orleans now, is that,
I think the mailboxes are to the east
okay,
of,
but you know what I mean by the Y? Is that Y go away and Turtle Run comes out there? Needs, right here. I'm struggling with how it exists today and how it's going to be in the future if that entire intersection is gonna be redone.
Road remain.
Over here it does.
well, the plan is that Middle Road, anyone using Middle Road would come on to Turtle Run and do a 90-degree turn, basically, to enter Route 39.
So they would turn on to Turtle Run and then sort of take an immediate left
Right.
onto Little Lane.
Oh,
And then Turtle Run would
You're
sort of
right.
run off to the right or towards
oh,
the
right.
south.
Middle Road comes in like this. Subdivision goes off to the left.
Yeah,
Orleans Road is a right turn.
off of Middle.
Comes to Turtle Run, turn right to get onto Orleans Road.
Right. How close is the Turtle Run once you leave the intersection to that first house? As you turn in today, there's a house on the right
On
on,
Middle Road.
Oh, I think you're talking about the house on,
So
I-
what's the name of that subdivision?
well, it's corner of 39 and it sets up a little bit.
Yeah, the next subdivision road. We're,
So Turtle Run would run sort of
Look at
to the
that.
side of it. I don't know if a Google map would be helpful that would show the location of the,
we have, just a minute, David. What's the dimension on this line right here?
Right
What's the length, no, this line, what's the length of that line?
155 from the corner to the left.
Okay, so before we come to the abutting property, where a house, you have 155 feet. And then the subdivision road servicing those properties is a little further on.
So Middle Road effectively is going to be extended from where it is now to meet Turtle Road. Is that,
Well, I think they think it already exists in that length. So, actually, I suppose, one way to think about it is actually, Middle Road is gonna be shortened a little bit, because instead of continuing on to a narrow V intersection with Route 39, now it'll have a 90-degree intersection with Route 39, which is considerably safer than
It's a very
existing.
peculiar oblique angle, the way that hits that, it's kind of like at 100 degrees or something like that, very unusual.
Right, so it'll be a 90-degree.
So it'll intersect with Turtle, which will then be a feeder, in effect, to Orleans Road.
That's correct.
Okay.
Plan sheet 6 has a blown-up detail of the intersections. That was good. We're talking points at this meeting. So,
I see it right here to the right.
so you see in the intersection between Turtle Run and Middle Road,
Yep.
we're providing a short paved apron, so there's no impediments to get onto Middle Road from Turtle Road. This plan also shows the centerline intersections to the two closest streets to the east and west, being Little Shaver to the west is about 400 feet,
Yep.
centerline offsite, and 250 feet to the east is Little Lane. We're kind of constrained where we're entering Orleans Road because we want to honor the 100 feet from the wetland. We also have a utility.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for interrupting. I don't think everyone in the room can hear Mr. Clark.
Sorry.
Is this microphone?
That's the microphone, so maybe you just get the microphone a little closer. Thank you.
We're constrained on the entrance in that we're trying to honor the 100 feet from the wetland, and then on the west side of the entrance, there's a utility pole we'd rather not move. So it all works. We think that it's an improvement to Middle Road. As you mentioned, the angle coming out is one of the most severe I've ever seen. And I don't think you can even turn a car and get 90 degrees to Orleans Road to make a safe exit to the east. So this will give a much better open intersection for somebody to wait and to get into traffic from the road.
thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Ms. Tucker, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Mary, yeah?
So, I know you said you are going back before the selectmen on the 13th of June, is that correct? Where else are you in your permit approvals? Do you have
That's
anything else besides the selectmen?
the last one. Other than a construction permit from the water department, the water main.
Okay,
So what have you done with the Board of Health? Have you-
We're done with the Board of Health. We went there last week and have a approval for both the nitrogen aggregation plan and the, environmental impact report.
And
it's two things.
conservation signed off?
We don't have to file with
There's
conservation.
nothing on that? Oh, that's right, excuse me.
Yeah, we purposely
Because
put
of the
everything
size.
outside their jurisdiction,
Right.
and did the open space to avoid that.
Oh, we actually did it to protect the environment.
Right,
Just a side benefit that we don't have to take their time.
right, right.
Thank you for correcting.
Gee, funny how that works out, right?
I know.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on that, I think, if correctly, there was a report in here from the Conservation Committee that they had confirmed the wetlands, because I think at our previous meeting in December, there had been a question as to the wetlands as it was defined.
Delineation of the wetland areas. Had hired a consultant, Lynn Hamlin, and working with Amy Usowski and our consultant, Teresa Sprague of Blue Flags. They went out together on the ground, did little soil samples, and came to a consensus as to the limit of the wetland, and that's what the Conservation Commission approved.
Great.
Good. Thank you.
Dave, any questions? Well, if there are no further questions from the board, I'd like to hear if there are any questions from the public. If so, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and sign in. That would be great. I know we're going to be hearing from Mr. Sunny.
My name is John Morrissey, and I live at 1014 Orleans Road, and I live on the crest of the hill. Now, you guys are talking about all these maps here. I'm not sure where this road is coming out, okay? On the Little Road, I'm not sure, but if it comes right out onto 39, there's gonna be a serious issue. Because the crest of the hill there, when I first bought my house there, the lawyer said to me, never go left, go right, because you can't coming over that hill there. And that road is 45 miles an hour, and who knows, I don't know how fast people are going, 50 or whatever. To me, it's pretty dangerous.
What's
So,
this?
I'm not sure how it's all fitting in where the road is coming out. I suppose if it's coming out on the top of the crest of the hill, it might even be better. But if it's in between the crest of the hill and Little Road, that's dangerous there. I'm not an engineer. I don't know exactly where it's coming out or anything, so. But my concern is that the speed will have to be reduced. I even have tractor trailers coming down the road. And they put on their Jake brakes to slow down. If there's cars coming out there and you're projected to have, 5 did you say? So, well, at least 2 or 3 cars to a lot. So that's as many cars coming out onto 39. So to me, it's a serious issue. I have no problem with anybody building or anything. And, all the water, all that, it's just the infrastructure on Route 39. It's not pretty there.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Morrissey. Appreciate your input here.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am?
Hi, Karen Flieger. I live on Little Shaver Lane. And I have a question, and I'm asking it for clarification. Turtle Road appears, from what I saw from the planning board on their drawings, is right smack up against our Lot 7. Our Lot 7 was required when that division was put together, and we were told we can't do anything to that. And I think that
East or west?
special path that nobody can touch or do anything with, whatever you guys call it, runs and is part of that, our Lot 7. I have actually 2 questions. And I know they're waiting for the information for the stormwater, because that wasn't approved. If there's something changes in that stormwater, how it's laid out, and it affects the division itself, are we going to be re-notified? And my concern is, having it that close to our Lot 7, which we were told we can't do anything with, we don't even have any rights to it. We don't pay taxes, and it belonged to the town and all of the people in our little community, but we don't do anything with it. So is this road going to intersect this? Because you can't tell from the drawing where this private way was, or whatever they wanted to call it.
Road,
Yeah. So, we weren't allowed to do anything to it, so I would, would be able to do anything with that as well. So I needed some clarification on that, because I couldn't read that from the drawings that I had seen when I was,
So that's one question, Mr. Clark,
Well,
or Mr. Riley, excuse me.
well, with regard to the subdivision, where they have their home in the property that they can't do anything, it's my understanding that when the property was subdivided, the person who was doing the subdividing was a little over anxious. The property's registered land. It didn't have sufficient rights across Little Shaver Lane. And and so through a, huh?
Little Shaver's to the west. You're thinking
No, but the
Little Lane.
Little Lane, excuse me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
Little Lane. So, resolution for that was that they could only have 2 lots, which are currently developed. And the property on the pond side of their subdivision way has to remain undeveloped. So that's why they say the property can't be touched. I mean, it's, because whoever did the development didn't have the rights to fully develop it, and they worked out a session. So that's one part of her question. The next part of her question is the stormwater, it still has to do with Mr. Rhodes and his colleague. The work is all complete. The last time we did a subdivision that required a stormwater report, we were working with Griffin Ryder. And so we prepared our report this time, identical to the report at that time. So we're dealing with a consultant, and we're in the process. David's done 98% of the work already to provide them with the information they need. It's not, I mean, the stormwater is going to be contained within the layout of the way. And it's just, the consultant needed additional information about David's design so that he can sign off on it, or they can sign off on it. So that's the, so I don't think, there certainly isn't going to be any change in our road layout as a result of the stormwater study that David's completing. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, in speaking directly about the open space that's to the west of us, which I believe is what she commented on, we actually moved the road a little closer to the wetland from what you saw on the preliminary plan, so we could ensure that all the grading that's required for our road is on our property, and there's no possibility of us going over the line with our grading. So the intent is to preserve their open space. It's actually trespassing if we go over the line with machinery. Regarding the MISA and that filing, Teresa Sprague of Blue Flax Design has prepared a turtle protection plan for the entire property. It's probably similar to the on the west side of Little Shaver. There's a subdivision you approved 2 or 3 years ago that they're actually building the road right now. Before they could break ground, they had to put up a fence, basically a tall silt fence around the entire perimeter. Not erosion control, but to keep the turtles out of the work zone. We're going to be required to do the thing here, and it has to be as tight to the work area as possible. So that's a second means of ensuring that we stay within our construction limits.
Ms. Fleeger, does that help answer your first question?
it does, but so when you guys are talking about way that it's going to cross, you're using middle
Middle road.
and then you had another term for a different one. And we got, according to what our deed said, was part of one of those roads that was ancient way, that was the term they used,
Right.
the ancient way. All right, nobody could do anything with. And I think part of that ancient way is in our lot 7, at least on my side, not on the further side of
Right.
Is that vehicle tracks that
So
go up into this?
how does that affect where that's going? Because we were told anything that would touch that ancient way, and we had, when we built, because there was somebody that felt that they had rights to use that as a citizen, because supposedly in our deed, that's the way it was set up.
Well, if you see on Plan 6 there, it's handled as a tray or as a, an apron, so it provides access into the Turtle Way Road surface for a turnoff. So that, it's not being interfered with, it's simply been given a kind of a finished ending. Do I have that correct? So I think that's the only interference that they have with that. It's a matter of providing a safe egress from that ancient way.
There's an ancient way or vehicle tracks that almost start off perpendicular to Orleans Road, Route 39, and goes on to their Lot 7 and goes out to the south beyond their subdivision. We're not touching that.
Okay.
Because we understand other people have rights in that. It
Right.
doesn't affect anything we're doing.
Is that clear, ma'am?
Yes, but he did say that as a result of the wetlands, that they did end up moving that, the road. I think that's what he said, that from the original drawing, that was moved based on the wetlands.
Compliance, right, yeah, and also with, sounds like with a fence way.
All right, so now, all right, and I'm really bad on east and west when I'm looking at the house. Okay, so if it came west, which is I think what he said, wouldn't that have moved by my east and west, would that have moved it closer to our lot 7? Because I walked that, and that is very, 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 very close to our lot 7. So if it moved west, if I'm thinking that's the direction, because to me east would be the other way. So I guess I'm looking for some clarification on that.
Mr. Riley?
As David just, excuse me, as David just explained, they moved the layout of the way to the east, away from their lot 7,
All right,
so that none of the grading would go over the property line.
Help you?
yes, all right,
Very
so I
good.
had my east and west backward.
Okay,
So, all right, thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Please.
I wear hearing aids, and when I take my mask off, sometimes the hearing aid comes off with it. So excuse me. My name is Christopher Senni. I'm an attorney. I live in Brewster and have a small law practice there. I represent 3 families who have property that abuts this subdivision. John and Linda Byrne, 1119 Orleans Road. That is a property that uses Middle Road to come from their property and turn on to Route 39. I represent Trevor and Jocelyn Childs at 52 Hidden Pond and William and Lisa Martin at 14 Hidden Pond Road. We have participated in meetings with other boards in town. We participated with the Conservation Commission. As Mr. Riley indicated, we hired our own wetland specialist who worked with the applicant specialist to confirm the delineation of the wetlands, and we came to full agreement on that. I wrote a letter to the Board of Health. We understand that the open space and the lots themselves are being aggregated so that the property will meet the 440 gallons per day per builder's lot, which is 40,000 square feet. All of that is fine, and we agree that the actions taken by the Conservation Commission made sense, and the Board of Health hasn't acted yet, but we understand that according to the calculations, this project ought to meet the requirements by aggregating the land. I did write a letter to the Planning Board today, and that wrote back and said that that would be forwarded to you. I'm sorry that got into your file after your packages were prepared. It's a 2-page letter. And I would like to just comment on 2 aspects of this proposal that I covered in the letter. The first issue is this intersection of Middle Road, Turtle Run, and Route 39. This is 3 different ways intersecting very close, at a very close point. Turtle Run will actually discontinue Middle Road or absorb it, so to speak. Right now, look at the path Middle Road takes coming east to west. It would go right across where Turtle Run comes out, even go past where you have the 2 curves for Turtle Run, and it actually connects to Route past the west side of this road. There's a significant change happening to an ancient way that's been since before the Civil War. My clients, John and Linda Burns, are probably okay with that, but we would like an opportunity to make sure that their right and other people's right to use this way is preserved and documented on the final subdivision plan and in the declaration of restrictions, because one day this developer will not be associated with this anymore. There will be a homeowners association, and my clients will wind up, to a certain extent, being in partnership with this homeowners association on how Middle Road intersects with Turtle Run. So we would like to be as involved as possible in this process and make sure that the way it's going to be handled is well documented, both on the plan and in the restrictions. That's important. I've had cases where if all I can point to on behalf of my clients is a subdivision plan, it's not enough. So rights have to be called out. If this subdivision plan is going to respect the rights that others have in Middle Road, it should not only be on the subdivision plan, but it should be noted in the recorded declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions. So we would ask for a chance to read that document before your board makes a final decision. Also, I think the police, fire, and DPW should be consulted. I heard the report that comments are not in this file yet. I don't know if any have been sought. The angle at which Middle Road approaches Route 39 is quite sharp. This may improve that. Instead, there's an apron, as the board mentioned, and what will happen is traffic coming down Middle Road is going to empty into Turtle Run and then be like other cars leaving Turtle Run. I should point out that the distance between where my clients now join Route 39 and where they will join in the right-hand lane going out of Turtle Run is at least 50 or 60 feet separated. We are 50 or 60 feet further east. I don't know the line of sight, but I do think some clear, careful analysis of the traffic impacts of this entrance should be done. And if your board decides that Turtle Run and everyone leaving Turtle Run and turning to the east is safe, it will be safe for my clients as well. But I do think it requires real thoughtfulness and care. The other issue is the buffer that is intended in your zoning bylaws to be preserved around an open space subdivision. The idea here is we want smaller lots, and actually your bylaw is a good bylaw. You can have lots as small as 10,000 square feet and preserve open space around it. I understand the applicant is preserving 5 acres, which is about 60%, and I give the applicant credit for that and thank the applicant for that. It's supposed to be a buffer that goes around the home lots to really soften the impact of this more intense development on the neighboring properties. And there is a difference between the plan your board approved when you looked at the preliminary plan and this one. And the difference is this. The natural vegetated buffer that's required in your zoning bylaws, 325-51E4D, there are 2 widths to it. If the property abuts private property that is not preserved as open space, it should be 50 feet of a natural buffer. If it abuts property that's already dedicated open space, it can be small, 20 feet. And that was shown on the preliminary plan. There was confusion, I think, about a parcel, a neighboring parcel marked owner unknown. And it got treated as if open space, and the applicant has corrected that and gone to a 50-foot buffer there. But the difference is that where that buffer is shown, on the preliminary plan, the whole buffer was part of the open space that went around the house lots. And on this plan, you will notice that a portion of that 50-foot buffer, where it is allowed to be smaller, the smaller buffer, gets pulled into the building lots. In fact, with lot 4, or lot 5, I'm not sure, about 50% of the 50-foot buffer has now been incorporated into the building lot. With lots 1 and 2, it looks like it's about 25% of that buffer. And here's the difference. You have in front of you a declaration of restrictions, the open space, but it won't protect the part of the open space that has now been pulled into the building lots as the building lots have expanded out. Now, I analyzed the total square footage of open space and lot area, and this has not been done solely to increase the building lots because it's only a 2.75% difference between the two. So there has been encroachment into this 50-foot buffer, but it may be that that was driven partly by changes in the road or changes in the drainage structures, which you see a difference between the two plans. But the fact is that you now have a part of this very natural buffer that's going to be on private property, on the homeowner's lots. And the danger is that enforcing preservation of this is going to be much more difficult and much more uncertain than if either the homeowners association owns it, or I heard tonight that it may switch to a Conservation Commission ownership, which we would favor even more. In that case, we know that the full buffer that's intended is going to be protected. In this case, the way it is shown on the proposed definitive plan, you have homeowners that are going to know where their boundary is, and they're going to be told you're not supposed to touch those trees on the back part of it. But will they over time? And actually, this other case I mentioned that I had a problem with because something was just shown on a subdivision plan, it wasn't put into a recorded instrument, had to do with a buffer zone intended to protect the neighbors. So I favor the original one you approved with the preliminary plan, and I believe, given your minimum lot size, which can go down to 12,000 square feet, and a reconfiguration that all of the required natural buffer can be situated in the open space. Therefore, it would be protected by the declaration of restrictions, and we would know that it will be preserved as open space. The neighbors who live near that would know that it will be preserved. If that last 15, 20 feet or 25 feet of that on somebody's property, it's not going to be protected by that covenant, and it may erode over time. So just as I said to the Conservation Commission and to the Board of Health in my letter to them, we don't oppose the subdivision. We know it is developable. We have concerns. Middle Road is a real concern of ours. We think it's a public safety concern, and we do think this should be well understood. And in terms of that 50-foot natural buffer, I think it should all be in the open space. My clients feel strongly about that. Board to consider asking the applicant to go back to the approach that was shown in the preliminary plan you approved.
Mr. Seti, may I ask you a question while we still have you? Is your recommendation, second point, to kind of trim the of your lot 5 and move it up? Is that your the idea of your recommendation?
Yes, my recommendation is that the easterly boundary of lots 2 and 3 come down away from Hidden Pond Circle so that the lot ends. You can see on the plan this notation, natural is the edge of the 50-foot buffer. And I'm saying the lot line should be reconfigured to comport with the natural state line.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the public? Please sign in. I'm sorry, Ms. Massett, Mary, did you? Okay.
My name is Michael Mullane, 13 Little Lane. Questions I have may have been answered in the discussion, but I'm very hard of hearing. I missed most of it. I could hear two presenters, so I apologize in advance. My concern, I live on Little Lane, and my backyard backs up to Middle Road. Middle Road has been described as an ancient road. It's a town thoroughfare, I guess. My question comes down to the, not what's final, but during the construction of the subdivision, trucks, equipment, would they be coming down Little Lane or Middle Road to get in the backside of the cul-de-sac? If I was a builder, I would do that, but now I'm not. I mean, I was a builder once, but I'm against that in the sense that when a neighbor, let's just say he built a big house recently in a nice big barn type of structure, his trucks up and down Little Lane caused a lot of damage, and it's not a town road. The town is not going to come in and hot top the holes. So what I'm saying is I would hope that somehow you could protect Little Lane and Middle Road from the construction trucks and not have access coming in the back side. It would come in through Hidden Pond Circle, and the property belongs to one of the butters there. So my concern is destruction of the roads. I didn't hear the other thing, but I did notice that there's a question about turtles, and you may have talked about it. I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mullane. Mr. Clark, do you have a response?
We have no rights over Little Lane or Hidden Pond Circle, so none of our construction vehicles can be over there, and will be over. There's no reason to access the property from there.
They have no rights.
Here's some other folks that I think you have to speak into the...
Right, could you maybe just address that answer right to the mic so we can?
Sure. We have no rights over, Eastward Companies does not have any rights over Little Lane or Hidden Pond Circle, so construction vehicles on those roads, and it's not even practical. Our construction access is going to be from Route 39.
Thank you.
And we won't be using Middle Road for construction vehicles either.
Any other comments from the public? Any other questions from the board? What's the wish of the board this evening?
Mr. Chairman? I can
Ms. Riley.
comment very briefly on the concerns of Mr. Senni's clients. In my experience with the town of Harwich and the protection of buffer zones, the town staff has always been very vigilant. And the Eastwood Companies did a subdivision over by the Bruce line they call Hidden Cove. I've never actually seen a cove over there, so it's very well hidden. But and we have a similar situation where we have a 50-foot buffer for the open space, and about 25 feet of that buffer is on the backside of the residential lots. And the property owners are notified when they buy the property, no structures can be built in there, the town won't issue any building permit in there. And so, you know, the supposition that, oh, somebody's gonna violate the law in the future, is not an appropriate way, for you to make your decision. I mean, the reality is that the experience of this town developer and this kind of subdivision, has been, you know, I don't wanna get too glowing, but it's been pretty rigorous, primarily because the town is rigorous. And so, I can appreciate why Mr. Senni really wants to protect the asphalt at Hidden Pond Circle with a greater width of, but, you know, we're gonna maintain that buffer zone appropriately, and we think the design as presented should be approved.
And, yes, so, and this was a compromise from from the neighbors' objections to the preliminary plan. We showed a 50-foot open space on the east side of this subdivision. They objected to how we laid that out. In discussions with John Eidman, he thought this was a great compromise. We can certainly add monumentation to that strip. I can add to this subdivision plan monuments at the 15-foot on both sides, so that there's physical monuments in the ground that can be referenced by anybody to ensure compliance with the open space.
Well, I also have a general question having to do with Mr. Senni's concern about it. I think he wasn't using the word easement, but kind of like a memorializing the access to Middle Way. But doesn't that, I'm just curious, doesn't the actual physical incorporation of that way into Turtle, doesn't that kind of define it as perpetually accessed? Or am I just...
I think the, I think essential, there'd be a specific grant, but I think we're happy to put a general statement in the protective covenants regarding the rights of persons entitled to use Middle Road.
Right.
You know, can use, to the extent necessary, Turtle Run.
And do you think the town has obligation to discuss this impact?
Well, if I could,
So I was just gonna ask the question.
Right.
About your folks' availability. Our next meeting is the 14th.
Right.
Which will be the day after your selectmen's meeting, if I remember correctly. So that would give us the opportunity to revisit with police and fire.
Yep.
And actually get reports. It may have been done already, but just where it's not in the packet and it's such a new intersection coming off of 39. I personally appreciate just having the opportunity to make sure that they've looked at it. It's probably gonna be fine. It's something that I'm used to seeing and it's not here. It's just been the timing of the planner leaving and preparing what was an excellent staff report. That's just the one piece that's missing for me. So I didn't know if you folks would be available if we continued to the 14th, and then I think that's, for me, those are the last couple of things that I just would feel better about, knowing that it's a new curb cut on 39.
It was probably March sometime. John Eidman did forward me the comments from the other departments regarding the preliminary plan.
Yep.
So there were comments from, I think DPW on lines of sight and making sure that the construction drawings showed the improvements that
But we've
complied.
moved, we've moved that intersection, right, a little bit to the east.
Yeah, maybe 5 feet or 10
So-
feet. But the lines
still-
of sight that are going to be cleared are shown on the road profile, or the plan and profile of the road. John did also forward comments from the water department, basically the size and location of the water main, so we complied with that. But I don't recall seeing any new correspondence based upon this.
Mr. Chadwick?
I would still appreciate that myself on a
Yeah,
different.
we need to continue it anyway, so
Right.
Okay.
Right.
we're happy to continue to the
Okay, good.
I agree with Mary. I think we need to hear from police, definitely.
Then if it's, Joe, our next meeting is June 14th, a Tuesday.
Flag Day.
That's right.
Right.
I worked, the first attorney I worked for always said he was gonna get married when Flag Day fell on the second Tuesday of the week. So I think of Mr. Brennan
still
every time Flag Day rolls.
Is he single?
So then I would propose that we continue the public hearing on, let me get the numbers right.
2020-12.
PB 22-12 Eastward MBT LLC to June 14th, 2022, no earlier than 6:30 PM.
Have a motion.
Second?
Roll call vote. Ms. Tucker?
Ms. Tucker votes aye.
Ms. Brunetti?
Aye.
Ms. Maslowski?
Aye.
Mr. Berry, aye. Mr. Chadwick?
Craig Chadwick, aye.
Mr. Harris? It's unanimous, so moved. Thank you. We will see you on the 14th. Thank you all for your input.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Powers?
Great job.
Thank you. My boss just left.
Do we have that?
Regarding this matter, it's not material to what you just did. Procedural question, if I could, through you to Member Maslowski. Dave, you might want to hear this. Dave?
Dave?
You might need to hear this answer. The original plan, sheet 1, indicates our temporary town clerk, who was certainly in office at the time.
Yep.
Should it be updated to reflect our elected clerk, given that it's going to be the future endorsement?
Correct. I would think so.
Great.
Dave, I think it's Emily M.,
I don't know what the initial is.
but it's certainly Emily Mitchell.
And I'm also going to change the name of the plan to Subdivision.
Very good, thank you.
Mary, was your, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
was your motion for continuance, did it include getting a current police and fire report?
We asked for it, so it doesn't have to.
Okay, but I mean, will you initiate that
I'm
versus them?
quite certain that the person staffing our meeting to ensure that
I
the
thought so.
Right.
the request goes out to police and fire,
Got it.
somebody in DPW.
I believe Jen heard that, absolutely. I can delegate with the best of them.
We're not quite done yet. We have one more.
We're still in session.
We have one more article of business. The final item, number 2, Historic District and Historic Commission. Any from,
Nothing to report. We don't have our we don't meet until the third Wednesday of the month, so we don't have an agenda quite yet.
okay,
So, nothing else there.
that was it.
All right, so then I'll
Move to
move
adjourn.
to adjourn.
I'll second.
Tucker,
Aye.
Ms. Brunetti,
Aye.
Ms. Maslowski,
Aye.
Mr. Berry, aye. Mr. Chadwick,
Craig Chadwick, aye.
Mr. Harris.
David Harris, aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.